Ever had a teacher who just got you? Someone who could make even like the most complex topic fascinating just by the way they talked about it. That's the power of influence in action. And guess what? It's not some magical gift. It's a skill. You can learn it. In this deep dive, we're taking you to Influence School with Colin James and Erica Bagshaw's book, How to Influence Anyone, Anywhere, Every Time.
Way! Get ready to take notes, because they are serving up a masterclass in communication.
Especially in the workplace.
And you know what's really interesting? James kicks things off with his story about his own, biology teacher, Miss Knight.
Yeah.
She wasn't just some dry lecturer. She brought the subject alive. We're talking active learning, engaging the senses, sparking genuine excitement in her students.
See, even experts like Colin James were inspired by a great communicator. It proves that anyone can master this stuff. But here's the thing. How often do you see that kind of dynamic communication at work?
Too often.
Like,
It's the
yeah.
opposite, right? Like those meetings that feel like a total snooze fest.
Yeah.
Because the speaker's stuck in chalk and talk mode. Exactly. And that's where the Colin James method comes in. It's like, remember those mirror neurons we always hear about? Turns out, they're not just for mimicking dance moves. They play a huge role in how we learn to communicate.
Hold on. Mirror neurons at work. You're gonna have to break that down for me.
Think of it like this. You know that adorable YouTube video of the little Italian girl perfectly mimicking her dad's phone conversation? It's hilarious, right? But it also shows how we unconsciously absorb communication styles from our surroundings. Those gestures, the tone, even the facial expressions. We pick them up without even realizing it.
Okay, that's kind of scary when you think about it. If we learned bad communication habits by osmosis, we need a serious reboot.
Exactly. We can't just rely on what we've passively picked up. And that's where having a structured approach to communication becomes crucial. The book calls it the Triple D framework. Diagnose, design, deliver. It's like going to the doctor, right? Before they prescribe anything, they're going to want to diagnose what's going on. Same with communication. You need to understand your audience, the context, the whole picture, before you can even begin to craft your message.
So it's like, no more jumping into presentations blind. We need to channel our inner Sherlock Holmes and do some sleuthing first.
Exactly. And the book is this great example. Imagine you're prepping to meet a chief revenue officer. What's the first thing you do? You hit up their LinkedIn profile, but you're not just clicking through, you're looking for clues. What are their interests? What kind of language do they use? Are they all about data? Or do they respond more to stories? This is diagnosis in action.
Okay. I'm seeing the light here. It's about tailoring your approach to the person you're trying to influence. But then how do you actually build a message that resonates? That's the design phase, right?
You got it. And one of the biggest takeaways from the book is this: relevance before concept. Basically, you need to answer the why should I care question right off the bat. They call it finding your why.
It's like, cut to the chase. Tell me why this matters to me.
Exactly. Don't bury the lead. Imagine you're presenting those quarterly results. Instead of launching into the numbers, you start by saying, this data is going to show us how to smash our targets next quarter. Boom. You've instantly created relevance.
That's a game changer. Suddenly everyone's paying attention because they know what's in it for them. But let's be real, even with a killer why, sometimes we have to get into the nitty-gritty details. How do we keep people from zoning out when things get complex?
Well, remember those mirror neurons. Turns out they also influence how our brains make sense of information. That's where the CPD hierarchy comes in. Concept, principles, details.
Okay, CPD hierarchy. It sounds a bit like ancient history or something, but I have a feeling you're going to bring this back to those awesome communication skills we're trying to learn.
You know me too well. Think of it this way. You're reading a book, right? Let's say it's Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. The concept is effectiveness, the big idea he's trying to get across. The 7 habits are the principles, the key takeaways. And then all the stories and examples within each habit, those are the details that bring it all to life.
So instead of overwhelming people with a fire hose of information, we need to give them the concept, principles, details in a way their brains can actually handle, kind of like we're organizing the information for them.
Exactly. Our brains love structure, and the CPD hierarchy gives it to them. Remember that experiment where they ask you to remember a list of 20 random things? It's nearly impossible. But if you group those items into categories, suddenly it becomes way easier to recall. That's the power of chunking information. It reduces cognitive overload and helps your message stick.
Okay, this is all starting to click now. We've diagnosed our audience. We've designed a killer message with a strong why and a brain-friendly structure. Now for the grand finale, actually delivering the goods. That's where this whole pavers thing comes in, right?
You got it. Pavers is your secret weapon for delivering with impact. It stands for physiology, auditory, visual aids, energy, relationships, and story. And the best part, you can start sharpening these skills right now by observing those around you.
Wait, like, people watching is now a professional development activity. I'm in.
Absolutely. Pay attention to the speakers who captivate you. What are they doing with their body language? How are they using their voice? What about their visuals? Are they telling stories that draw you in? This isn't about copying. It's about identifying what works and adapting those techniques to your own style.
Okay, so observation is key. But let's break down a few of these pavers elements. What about visuals? I'll admit, sometimes my slide decks are a bit underwhelming.
Well, think of it like this. Imagine you're pitching an idea to the leadership team, right? And your title slide just says Q3 marketing strategy. Snooze fest. But what if you replace that with a provocative question or a bold statement? Something that sparks curiosity and makes them lean in. That's what we call the dragon's approach. Think of those investors on Shark Tank. You got to hook them from the start.
I'm all about that dragon's energy. And speaking of energy, that's another big one, right? I know I feel my energy dip after lunch, and it definitely affects how I communicate.
Energy is huge.
Yeah.
Angela Ahrendts, the former CEO of Burberry, talks about it like this. Human energy is a powerful resource. We need to be mindful of how we manage it throughout the day and bring our A game when it matters most.
So it's about being intentional with our energy. I like it. But you know what else makes a huge difference? Remembering people's names. It sounds so simple, but it makes you feel seen and respected.
It's all about building those relationships. And it doesn't have to be complicated. There's a story in the book about a senior manager who remembered the name of everyone he met. Even in passing, people were amazed. And it instantly boosted his influence because it showed he valued those connections.
It's like that saying, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And you know what else shows you care? Handling questions with grace and respect, even the tough ones.
Totally. They call it the 4-step Q&A dance. Framing expectations. Diagnosing the questioner and their intent. Answering with stories and examples, and closing with clarity and connection. It's like turning a potential communication minefield into a collaborative conversation.
Okay, so we've got this amazing toolkit of communication skills now, but where do we even begin?
Start small. Pick one element of pavers that resonates with you, and make a conscious effort to integrate it into your daily interactions. Remember, influence is a journey, not a destination. You don't have to master everything overnight.
This deep dive has been amazing. We've gone from feeling like communication rookies to having a whole playbook of strategies we can actually use. And it all starts with that first step, that conscious choice to become more intentional and skillful communicators. So to our listeners out there, what's one thing you're going to start doing differently? Think about it, try it out, and watch your influence soar.